Welcome to Dare a New Belief, a place to discover what is possible for your life after the loss of a loved one, and where you will find inspiration, insight, support, and love, and hopefully a bit of laughter to help you through the day. Now here's your host, Nada Hogan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dare a New Belief. I'm your host, Nada Hogan, and I have the grand honor to be with my new and wonderful friend, Esmie Lawrence. Esmie is a former Olympian. She is also a health professional, and she is now on a mission to help women that are working in high-stress professional jobs and CEOs that own their own company, helping them manage stress. And let me tell you what, Esmie knows everything about stress. And handling it and overcoming it and becoming very successful in the face of stress. So Esmie, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Nada. I am so honored. I feel honored to be for you to have me on your show, and thank you so much. And I can't wait to share my story with your audience.
Oh, and I'm telling you, they will love it. You guys will love Esmie's story. It's heartwarming and beautiful, and she's just as gorgeous on the inside as she is on the outside. And so, Esmie, we're going to dive right in here, and I just want to ask you, since this is your work, you coach CEOs and professional women in dealing with stress and handling stress. So I would like to ask you, from your own personal experience, how do you handle stress? And can you give us an example of one of the big stressful events that have happened in your life and how you overcame that?
Oh, stress. I've had a journey with stress like most people. But one of the big stress event that happened to me was recently just getting divorced. And, of course, you marry someone and you think that the marriage going to last forever.
Right.
And then you end up falling, you're going your separate direction, kind of growing apart. And to me, that was very stressful. Because, I thought, well, what's going to happen I have older children, but what's going to happen to my children, my income, just my way of life, it's totally different. And so I had to really dig deep, and initially, of course, I was, feeling depressed because, life wasn't supposed to happen this way.
Right.
But I was feeling a little, depressed. And I thought, well, what's the point in wallowing in self-pity? And feeling depressed and not, living a fulfilled life. So I said, my mom would not be happy with me if I'm that I'm feeling depressed. And especially the fact that my mom, knows what stress really is. And I thought, well, you know what? I am going to pick myself up. And the way I picked myself up, I just changed the way I thought about stress. And I thought, well, you know what? It's not stress that is going to kill me. It's my reaction to it. So yes, I'm going through a divorce, but I know that the best way is to pick myself up. So I started, and of course at that point I was overweight. I was eating, I was about 30 pounds overweight. I was eating junk food. I was doing all the stuff that I know as a former Olympian not to do.
Right.
I was doing it, so I changed my life. I just totally changed my life. I start working out. I start loving me again. So I start working out. I start eating better. Then I as soon as the weight start dropping, I start gaining more self-confidence. And so I thought, yeah, this is the way to manage stress. It's just action. So take action. And so once I started that, it was like a snowball effect. Then I thought, and then I started feeling good about myself. I thought, well, I need to reinvent myself. I need to do something that I love and something I've always wanted to do. And I thought, I've always wanted to be an author. I always wanted to be a podcaster. So I started down the journey of that. And so that took me out of that depression. There's nothing like getting over depression and stress by action, doing something.
Right.
And that took me out of my depression, just by doing things and thinking positive.
Yes. So, Esmie, I know you were speaking about your mom, that you were thinking about your mother and that she wouldn't be happy with the way that you were handling that stress and that voice of just pick yourself up and get on with stuff. Did your mother have to overcome a lot of stressful events? Was she a big role model for you to,
Oh,
yeah. Can you share with us about your mom?
yes, yes. My mom was a huge role model for me. My mom was actually born in Kingston, Jamaica. She was living in the ghetto, and this part of Jamaica is called Trenchtown, and that's where she was. She was born, and she had 5 kids. And I
Mm.
was a third child. And so my mom, my father left us and basically abandoned the family, and so she was a single mom by herself and
Wow.
living in the ghetto. And she said, she always said, I'm gonna move out of this ghetto one of these days. And my mom was so smart. She would sell stuff at the market. She only had a grade 8 education, right? But
Wow.
she always had a goal of getting out of that ghetto. And so she saved, and then the opportunity showed up one day where she was able to go to Canada. And in order
Wow.
to go to Canada, she left her children behind. That was a big sacrifice. And that was very stressful on my mom. And
Oh
then
my
so she came to
gosh.
Canada. Yes,
Yeah, I couldn't imagine 5 kids and you're leaving them
5 kids.
behind to go to Canada. That's
Yes,
some serious stress and
serious
scary.
stress.
Oh,
So because she wanted a better opportunity for her
yeah.
family, and so she came to Canada and it was cold. When she first came, she didn't even have a winter jacket.
Oh,
She didn't,
no.
yeah, didn't even know what winter was until
Oh,
she stepped out, and it's like, oh my gosh, it was cold, and
oh,
then living with, people she didn't know. And, so she
wow.
came and she, working 2, 3 jobs. And you know what was so special about my mom, that she would sacrifice for, what she wanted, and she would send money back to Jamaica for her
Wow.
children. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it was really tough, and so of course, eventually we all came up to Canada. She worked and she applied for us, and we ended up coming and became Canadian citizen. But my mom always, my mom never had a sick day.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, never had a sick day in her life. And
Wow.
because I don't know how she did it. She would wake up in the morning and she would cook her food before she went to work. And then
Wow.
she would take the bus and go to her first job, and then take the bus, go to her second job,
Ugh,
and so she was always working 2, 3 jobs, because she always, wanted make sure that we always had money. We'd always have, food on the table. Well, we always had clothes to wear. So my
yeah.
mom was a special kind of mom, and of course, she was a Christian lady, so she had strong belief. She
Yes.
believed that God would provide, and so even with not knowing anybody in Canada, she always was positive, and I'm thinking, how did she become so positive? Because there were no options. There were no
Right?
other options. Either she's positive, or she's dying,
Yeah.
and she had to be an example for us kids. And I think that's why I'm so positive too. And even, when the times that I feel depressed, and that, when I was depressed at work, depressed at home, I really think that my mom and her example was a great example for me. And so I saw how she rise up, herself above the stress. She felt it. Stress came at her, but she never let stress, get her down.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah,
So yeah, you can
yeah,
feel that passion and that
yes,
power inside of you from your mom. I think that's
right,
beautiful. I have more questions to ask you about your mom, but it makes me wonder that dedication and that work ethic of having 2 and 3 jobs and taking a bus from this place to that place and to
yeah,
do more work and just coming from Jamaica over to Canada, not knowing anybody and how scary that
right,
whole entire trip had to have been. And because you're a former Olympian, I mean, that's just wow. That's
right.
wow. So do you think that everything that your mother modeled for you was part of how you became an Olympian?
Oh, yes. My mom was
Yeah.
disciplined. She was
Yeah.
this, she was or like she had a schedule, it was like clockwork. And,
Oh,
she was disciplined and she always made sure she was always on time for work. She always cooked, so we would wake up
oh,
no matter what time, there's always food, and
wow.
so she always know that, to be successful, you must be disciplined. So year in, year out, she would have the same schedule. And
Wow.
so with me going back and I saw that as an example, and it's funny, I didn't know what I was looking at back then. I didn't know, what it meant. But when I started, running, started track and field, I was disciplined. I went to practice and I had a goal, and I was driven. And the same drive that drove me to become an Olympian, the same drive that drove my mom to end up, when she was in her 50s, I think she was in her 50s, she bought a car, bought her home, and
Oh,
so, yeah.
wow.
Oh yeah, she was a smart and she worked hard, and so to all the things that she accomplished in her life, is because she was driven, that she was disciplined. And it's the same thing I feel. And she passed it on to me, even though back then I didn't know she was passing it on to me.
Right.
Now that she's gone, I realize that she gave me so much. She gave the family so much of an example of how to live,
Yeah.
and so my mom was just, and when I think about my mom now, I think, I want to make my mom proud.
Right.
I want to be that woman that my mom always thought that I am. And
Right.
and yeah, so that's my passion. And it's funny because now that I've learned how to overcome my stress, and I'm not saying stress is not going to get you, but I know not to stay in that low spot. I know,
Right.
like, so I always know that I can rise up. I can be better. I can say, yeah, stress is coming and it's trying to knock me down, but I won't let it. I won't allow it. I won't allow it to defeat me.
Absolutely. Right. Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Isn't it amazing how your mother taught you so much? And I think that the greatest teachers in the world are the people who teach us and we don't even know that we're being taught. And it sounds
Yes.
like your mother did such a beautiful job doing that.
Oh, she did. She really did. And
Oh,
and it's not until you're old you realize and you sit back and go, wow, my mom
yeah.
was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And she was a great mom. And and I pride myself on being a great mom. I think I'm a great mom because I got that example from my mom.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's the most beautiful compliment in the world when our kids say, like, yeah, you are a great mom. And we feel the same way about our parents. I think that's just such a beautiful thing.
Right.
Ah,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
so awesome. So, Esme, when you're working with your clients, because you're working with high-end people, I mean, like CEOs, people who are running their own businesses, and there's so much going on behind the scenes, and
Right.
corporate wherever, professionals who have these high stress jobs. And
Right.
because you have overcome so many stressful circumstances and you manage your stress, everything that goes on in your life, you're juggling a lot. You have a lot on your plate, and
Oh,
yet you're
yes.
able to juggle it. And it seems almost effortlessly. But I
Mhm.
know that there's a skill, there's a talent to that. So, what is it that you share with your clients? And if you have a tip or something, a step that somebody can take for the listeners, if you're able to share something that they could do right away in managing their stress, whether they're CEOs or they're a stay-at-home mom and they have all of the stress of just managing the
Right.
household and babies, and what can you offer to the listeners in that regards?
It's funny about stress. If you think of stress, you think of how we manage stress, and it's like the analogy of an iceberg. So that we see an iceberg, and so you see this a tip of the iceberg, but what's under that ice? It's pretty deep. And so these are the thing that people don't see, how people react to stress. You don't really see it. You
Right.
just see that person, you see a little, glimpse of it, right? And so, but deep down, that person is stressed out. Either, you work in a high stress profession or you're CEO, you are stressed. And one
Yeah.
of the key thing is, I always say to my clients is this: you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can manage stress, because stress, it's always there. It's something that will never leave you. Okay,
Right.
there is always stress coming at you, but it's the key is how do you manage? Okay, and it's how you think.
Right.
You think that you have to think that you can overcome stress. You can manage. Say yes, it's coming at me, but I know how to manage, and I won't let stress drown me. Like it's like a wave coming over you and drowning you. I won't allow that. And so
Right.
it's how you think. You got to think that way. And so if you start thinking that, yeah, okay, this is happening at work. Okay, this is happening in my home. Yeah, this is going on, but I can manage. And so you have to change how you think, and that's
Right.
a key tip there. Change how you think, and you change your world.
Absolutely. Right. Yep. Because you can have stress, but stress does not have to have you.
Exactly. Doesn't have to
Yeah.
hug you. I always say that, I mean, this is before I learned how to manage my stress. Stress will come even at home or at work or wherever. It would just grab onto me and it would give me a big hug and it wouldn't let me go.
Not the hug we wanted.
No, not the hug. No, not that kind of hug. And so, it would just like, let me, and I would be fighting and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. And I would use all these negative, words like I am this and I'm that. And stress is, instead of just letting go and go, okay, it's here. What do I do now?
Right.
Think about it. What do I do now? What's the next step? So that's how I teach my clients how to handle stress. What's the next level? What do I do when stress comes my way? And then once you start realizing that, yeah, I don't have to hug stress.
Right.
I
Right.
can just say, okay, I see it, but it's not going to drown me today.
Right.
And so the second step is it's a decision you make. You must make that decision. Right?
Yes.
Make
Yeah.
it, and once you make it, you realize, yes, I can handle stress.
Yes.
But it's a journey. You take baby steps, especially the people who are used to being drowned by stress. Every day they come back, they come home and they're just like, oh, I hate my job, or, oh my God, this client is just ridiculous, or seeing all the negative things in people and what's going on. Turn around, see it as a positive.
Right.
Okay, because it's a challenge. See stress as a challenge.
Yes.
It's like, so if you see it as a challenge, like I can meet this challenge, so
Absolutely.
see it more of a positive than a negative.
Right.
And that is a big, big key to overcoming stress.
Yeah, and it just reminded me of something because I had an event today with my computer and I'm unabashedly, I don't have any problem telling people I am working on my tech skills. And after it was a long day trying to get my computer fixed and it's not completely fixed. And so I was getting completely stressed out about it. And one of the things that I found myself saying to myself is, well, I'm just not going to work with computers anymore. My whole life will be computer free.
Oh
Well,
boy.
that's not going to work. You
No,
can't
it's not going
do
to
that.
work.
So what are you going to do? Go bury your head in the sand? So it's right. It's seeing the problem for what it is. It's a thing. That thing doesn't have to have me. So maybe I need
Right.
to check out other avenues to get the computer fixed or whatever it happens to be. But it's amazing what we say to ourselves and then set ourselves up for more failure,
Yes.
right? And then watch that stress take over and spin
Oh
us
yeah.
out of control.
You're so right. It spins you out of control. And before you know it, you're thinking, how did I get here? Like why
Right.
is my life like this?
Exactly.
How did my life, like it's spin into a cycle of depression? How? Like, how did this happen?
Right.
And but if you end up thinking, yeah, okay, I can deal with this challenge. This is going on. Okay, how do I reverse this? How do I see it differently? I need to look at it and with a different lens, right?
Right.
So, and if you look at it in a positive lens, you realize that what, this is a good thing
Right.
because it's forcing me to think differently, maybe do things a little different. Embrace it. And so if you embrace it, then you're not struggling with it. It's like, okay, I got this,
Right.
right?
Right. And maybe have some kind of creative genius idea because of the stress. The stress brought this on. And if I look at it differently, if I think about it differently, I could
Right.
come up with a genius idea with this.
Right. Oh, for
right?
sure. Even
Yeah,
as a runner, I experience stress. When you have big competitions that's coming up and you're feeling anxious, it's coming, and sometimes you can't sleep the night before your competition, and then you realize that, what, if I just calm myself down,
right,
I've trained for this, my body knows what to do, I can manage this. So it goes back to your mind, how you think. It's
right.
like, okay, I know that I've trained for this competition. I know that I'm feeling, nervous. And so well, instead of saying nervous, say I'm excited. Right?
Yeah,
So it's
right.
just how you play on words, right?
Right, right, for sure. Because especially a former Olympian, I mean, you had to have been under extreme amounts of stress. I mean, I would imagine just knowing that there's people in the grandstands watching you,
Yes.
just I can't
Oh,
even imagine what that stress would be like. And
oh
then all of the
yes.
people have to make the time, and I mean, I don't even know everything that it would take place to become
Right.
an Olympian, but oh
Oh,
man.
well, oh yes, and like I said, when you're running, you're training, you're breaking your body down, but you're breaking your body down to build it up again, right? So that's very stressful because sometimes, you know what, I would come home and I could barely walk.
Oh.
Especially going upstairs, I could barely go upstairs because you're
Oh,
training and put so much, heart and so determination and everything into training, right? And
yeah.
so you break yourself down, but to build yourself back up, right?
Wow.
So yeah, oh yeah. So when stress comes, it breaks you down. But you know what? If you use it and you think differently, you'll use stress and build yourself up. And it makes it even stronger because after I went through my transformation with stress and thinking, yeah, I know how to handle stress. I can do this. I'm a stronger, more powerful woman
Right.
because of what happened to me, because of that journey where I was so lost and stressed out. And then once I found my way back and think, oh my gosh, Esme, you're a more powerful woman. And that's
Mhm.
where the passion, comes from, to teach others how they can manage their stress.
Right. Isn't that beautiful when we go through something that is painful and stressful
Yes.
and things that break us down? And
Right.
on the other side of that is that
Yes.
now I can help other people be
Right.
where I was and bring them up to where I am now, which is such a
Exactly.
beautiful place and powerful place.
Oh, it is. I feel so much joy in my heart. I just want to share it. I want everybody to be as happy as I am.
Yes, you can
I
hear the passion.
I do, and I thought, because I still remember that Esme that was stressed. I
Yeah,
still remember her, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, really? Esme, why did you let yourself be like go that low? Where it's like, oh, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna do, all the little negative things that happens, in your brain, and coming home crying. You're at home, and all you want to watch is TV, and in a state of the state of depression.
right.
But then once you overcome that journey, you're thinking, okay, now this is what it feels like to be alive. This is the purpose. This is what God intended me to be, happy.
Yeah,
And what's really good about being happy and excited about life is that if you fall, it's okay. if
yeah.
if one day stress comes in, it hugs you, then it's like it's okay, because you know what, it's okay, I don't want stress hugging me today. And so you fall, maybe you might say you failed that day, but you can always start over, right? And start
Absolutely.
over and live that life that God intended you to live.
Right,
Like
right.
he wants us to be happy, right? And so then free. And so once I felt free and just powerful, I said, other women, they need to learn this skill. They need to know how to manage their stress, because they're going to be a lot happier at home and in the workplace, no matter where they work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And don't you feel like taking that first step is the hardest thing to do when you're under that or being squeezed to death by that stress? Don't you think finding that first step to be able to change that is the hardest thing to do, or is there something you find harder?
The first step is the hardest to do, and I remember when I decided that, you know what, I don't want to live like this. I want to be the woman that, that my mom intended me to be, the woman that God intended me to be,
Yeah.
and then when I, because I was like about 30 pounds overweight, and of course I'm tall, so it doesn't really look it, but I know that
Yeah,
it made a
we
difference
know.
in my eyes, right?
Right.
When my clothes can't fit me anymore, I know there's an issue, and so then I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to start eating better. I'm going to start exercising. And, and the first couple of weeks, it's like, oh, I don't want to exercise. even
Right.
though, even though you decide that you want to, you're changing your life. And these are some of the things that you have to do, to
Yeah.
make a better version, better Esmie.
Right.
It took me a while, to get that momentum, because I would try, and it's like, okay, I'd come home and okay, I'm not going to eat any junk food, because I decided I'm not going to do that. But then all of a sudden I come home, I'm into the cakes and the cookies and
Yeah.
into all the comfort foods, right? Then I thought,
Right.
oh, Esmie, you failed today. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to start tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. So it took me a couple tomorrows before
Right.
I was able to actually, to actually live the life and start eating properly and exercise on a regular basis, and start becoming more disciplined. It took me a while. So it's a journey. And so as you said, the first step, it's tough, but
Right.
but you can't give up. You can't give up. Just like when I started, track and field, it was tough. Start, learning how to sprint, and it's tough. But after a while, if you keep going and going, it just all of a sudden everything becomes more natural. It's like,
Yeah.
and you don't struggle anymore with it. You learn
Right.
how to run properly, so it's the same thing with overcoming stress and want to live your best life.
Yeah.
It's a journey. So I say to your audience, take your time, decide what you want to do, decide how you want to live. Who do you want to be? Who's the person that you want to be? And just become that person, and it's a journey to become that person. It took me about 3 months before I started seeing that, weight start losing the weight. And I started exercising and eating better. And then once I got into that routine, it's like, oh, I have momentum now.
Yeah.
So momentum, and which will push me forward, would keep me going.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's almost the same way as when we get into that depression and we get into that funk and we're eating poorly and we're not exercising. There's momentum that keeps pushing that down. But then when we make that corner and we start
Right.
going the opposite direction, that momentum will be there. And it just it's like a hand on your back, just pushing you along, guiding you
Yes.
to stay with it and stay in the flow of how good it
Right.
feels right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, it is really funny because once you start down, getting and putting on again a clothes, like your clothes that size, maybe at one size, less, and
Yeah.
like it's like, oh, this looks good. Oh, I'm
Right.
starting. So it actually motivates you. It's like, oh yeah, I'm eating better. Oh, this is really good, and I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
So once you start feeling better, it really motivates you to continue that journey, that life, where all of a sudden it's like, yeah, this is the Esmie I want to be. Now, is this Esmie perfect? No, but
Yeah.
this is for today. I am, as I keep saying, I'm perfectly imperfect.
Yes.
And it's a journey to continue to be better and better and better and better.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Which is a wonderful gold medal to strive for, right? It's just always
Yes,
be
it
the
is.
very best that we can be each
Right.
day, and not
Right.
beating ourselves up for the days that it didn't turn out as well as we wanted it to be. We didn't do as well as we wish we would have. And it's
Right.
okay. We get to start all over again with that brand new baby day tomorrow. You can start.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And because there's always hope for tomorrow. If you fail
absolutely.
today, say, okay, pick yourself up. The worst thing you can do is just sit there and do nothing and wallow in self-pity.
Right.
Oh, I'm so stressed and my life is no good. And, all the negative things. Don't, that's not the way to progress. And so when you think negative and start thinking all these negative things, you sit there. It's like wallowing in your self-pity. But if you
Right.
get up, and even if you fall again, you keep getting up. It's like a baby.
Yeah.
A baby is not going to just take the first step and just sits there. It's like, oh, I try walking and it's not working.
Right. Right. Yep.
a baby's, a baby's going to say, okay, and just keep persisting and persisting and persisting. Before you know, that baby's walking and the baby's running.
Yes.
And so so then it's about being persistent in what you decide to do, persistent in everything that you do. Right. And just know that you can do it. And, and this said, it goes back to the mindset. If you think you can do something and you put action into it, action and work, right, then you will accomplish whatever it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Words to live by.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Esmie, I tell you, the time goes by so quickly. I appreciate all of your words of wisdom. I appreciate sharing the struggles that you went through and sharing your mother's story. It's
Right.
so, I love understanding where people get their strength and where people get the
Right.
skills that they have, because so many times we get these skills and they're inherent in us, or we learned it from a great mentor, like in your case, your mother.
Right.
And you couldn't learn this in a book. You couldn't learn this from
No.
school. These were life experiences, and to
Exactly.
be able to share those with the world is just such a grand blessing. And I'm so grateful that you were able to take the time, and because I know your schedule is busy. So to take the time and to be able to be on the show and to share that with my listeners, I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful.
My pleasure. Anytime, my friend. Anytime.
Yes. And Esmie, because I know people will be interested, there's many people dealing with stress on a daily basis. How can my audience get in touch with you?
Yes, they can go to esmielawrence.com. And there's information about my coaching. There's information about me. And so Esmie, ESMIELAWRENCE.com. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Absolutely. And if you missed Esmie's name, no worries. It will be in the show notes. So all you have to do is go to the show notes and you will find all of the information on how to connect with Esmie. So again, thank you, Esmie. I adore you. I am so blessed to call you my friend. And I know you and I will be talking soon.
Oh, definitely. Well, I love you. You're awesome. And, thank you so much. I love your podcast. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Yes, and we forgot to mention that Esmie also has her own podcast, which is called Sprinting to Success.
To Success.
And
yes.
Sprinting because she is an Olympian. She knows what she's talking about. So, all right, Esmie, thank you so much. And thank you, audience, for being here and listening. And I know that you gleaned some great information from this beautiful woman who shared her heart with us today. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll see you back here again in 1 week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Please go to nadahogan.com for show notes and other information that you can use right away. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the podcast. And don't forget to rate and review right there on iTunes, Stitcher, or however you get your podcasts. And don't forget to tell your friends about it. We'll see you next week.